Hey guys, just wanted to make a video on the transfer piece that you need to draw up. So there's a few different drawings floating around for this piece of assessment. I think they all come from the Bounty textbook. But there seems to be a common error between the drawings, and it's the threaded hole. So for the purpose of this, I'm going to say that they intended it to be 6 holes at an M6. So we're going to model a diameter 6 hole here. We'll put a thread in it later. When you draw this, it's pretty important. There's a few different ways you can draw it. I'm going to show you a method I've had the most success with when trying to do the shell command, because it seems fairly simple, but there's a fair bit going on here. So if you can't get yours to shell correctly, just make sure you really watch this video and have a look at the sequence in which the shell happens and where the shell happens, because if it's not in sequence, I haven't had much success with this. So this is what it's going to look like when it's done in the 3D model. And we'll go ahead and get started because I'm going to draw it again for you. So I'm going to start with a new standard so metric drawing. And I'm going to start a new sketch. And if you take a look, my first sketch is actually going to be right in the middle there. And the purpose for that and the reasoning behind it will become more clear later on in the drawing. But it's to do with the shell, essentially. So I'll start that new sketch. And I'm going to do a 2-point center rectangle. And the outside dimensions for this tube is 36 by 36. I didn't first time around, but I will now. I'm also going to put the internal for this, but I'm going to extrude it as a solid. And once again, that's for the shell. The reason for that is for the shell that we do later on. So when I go extrude, I'm going to select both profiles. I'll do it symmetrically. And I'm going to need about 180 mil in this shape. And the reason I say about is because part of this drawing to do it, we're going to trim this down later. So there's my 180 mil. And essentially what we've done is we've created this bit of pipe here. I'm now going to just do this part of the drawing, and then we'll extrude the other part. So if I select this face, I'll start a new sketch there. And for me, I like to just rotate it in the orientation. I've already sort of got it in my head as such. So I'm going to do a 2-point rectangle this time. And just for ease, I'm going to do this one 36 tab 36. I don't actually need the outside one there, but it's just going to help me to get my next one if I did it 2-point center. So it's going to find the center of there and the center of there. And it should predict it like it just did then for me. And the dimension I'll need here will be 24 by 24. And so going back to our drawing, there's our 24 mil square, and there's our 36 by 36. Excuse me, something stuck in my throat. Now, so that 24 by 24, the only reason I did the 36 was just to centralize it. You could have drawn the 24 by 24 and then used dimension tool, you know, same but different. Wouldn't really slow you down at all. So I'm going to finish that sketch. I'm just going to leave that there for now. I don't actually need to do anything with that yet. I've got a bit more stuff happening here. And I'll do it on the same sketch actually. So just open that back up. Now, if you go to the drawing, this face it says face incline 60 degrees to horizontal. So that's that face there. And the key dimension that you need to pick up here is that from that center line, when they project it across, we're going to need 110. So 110 mil that way. Okay, so to get that, let's have a look. So if I was to just draw a line, and so there's horizontal, and at the moment I'm getting a readout of 90 degrees. Either way I'd do it, right? And so they wanted 60 degrees to horizontal. So there's 90. And so if I start going down there, so if I was to go 60 degrees, and that's reading 90, 90 take 60 will give me my 30. So I'm not worried about length. I'll just go tab, type in 30 for my degrees. That is now 60 degrees to the horizontal. And if you double check that, which you shouldn't have to, but draw a horizontal line and then dimension. So before I create a profile here to cut this section off, I'm going to dimension it from the center of that one there. I'm hoping to pick up the center of this line. Delete that for now. Or why I'm not getting the center of it. I got it last time I did it. It's a bit of a bummer. Bear with me. Okay, so simple solution as to why that wasn't finding the center. I'm glad it didn't work for me. It didn't work for me first time, however. Not sure why. However, but because this line's not perfectly balanced between that shape, if you just trim it so that it is, you can then go dimension from there to there. And that dimension needs to be 110, I think. 115, let's check. 110. Okay, that sorted that out. So it was pulling that square across and not allowing me to drag that. So if you just lock off the component that is being dragged when you try and dimension, that will save any issues there. So then the next thing I'm going to do, if it lets me, which it didn't before, I was going to use projected geometry. Does it for the whole thing, that's all good then. And I'm just going to cut off this section here. So let's see if I can do that. So finish sketch, extrude, and I'm going to say cut and take away the whole thing. So that's got that looking pretty good now. So I can go the next step here, and that's with my sketch 2. I need that back again because I want to do an extrude and then a shell. So to get it back, you right click on it and just turn on its visibility. I then have that geometry that I need. So I'm going to extrude that surface inwards. So subtract, and I'm going to do it to the wall thickness. And if you take a look, we've got 36 and it's 24 square on the inside. So you do the math and it gives you a 6 mil wall thickness. So if I just make that 6 mil for now, That should work out pretty good. And I'm going to go, I'm also going to put on my fillet on this outside edge, which is radius 12. I don't think it really matters if you do that before or after, but I like to do it before. And so then I'll go shell, and I'll select that surface. Give that a 6mm wall thickness. And so you can see now, gives you a preview of what it's going to do. It's copying that internal wall there, and it's giving me that 6mm thickness. So you'd like to think that if you did the fillet afterwards, it would update it, but I think it's nice to get the outside shape first before you do the shell. Okay, you'll note that it didn't cut through here, and so that's why we did the drawing in the middle there before. That would have been an easy solution later on if you didn't think about that, but we'll just continue with this drawing here, and we'll pick up on it. So I might start a new sketch now, and I'll do it on this face, and we've got this 64 by 64 plate to do here. It's got 10mm radiuses in the corner, and I think that's where the issue lies with these holes. So, and the error is. So if you look at the other versions of it, it gives you an R10, which makes more sense. So that's supposed to be radius 10, and then that hole, if it's proportional, would be a 6 in my eyes. I'm happy to argue that with whoever. So let's go. So I'm going to do rectangle, 2-point center, and I'll pick up, hopefully I'll pick up from that center. Didn't quite do it. I'll go again. Just going to do projected geometry on that face so that hopefully picks that up better. Okay, sweet. And it did. So our 64 is what we're aiming for. So I go 64, tab 64. That gives me my outside of that one there. I've then got a, I'm not going to do the holes yet, and I'll show you why. I'm just going to go finish sketch, and we'll extrude that face and that face out 6mm. Sweet. If you then do your fillet, which will be a radius 10, shift middle mouse wheel to orbit around. That'll give you your fillet, and then I reckon that makes it easier to start a new sketch. And then if you're going to use circle or point, it wouldn't really matter, but you can select that super easy and whack in your 6. So just by highlighting on there, it gives you the origin of that radius. Not using any dimensions to constrain, simply just selecting where that radius came from for the fillet. Finish sketch. I'm then going to extrude. Oops. Try that again. Extrude these with a subtract. So that's got that looking pretty sweet now. This little flange over here can be a bit tricky, so I'll show you that as well. I'm going to, wouldn't mind rotating that view around. I use the look at command. There we go. So I've got this face here now. I'm going to use projected geometry once again, and that's going to help me with my selection. And I'm going to need a rectangle, and looking at this here, I won't bore you with the math, but you've got 12 and then radius 12, so that gives you 24. That's just to get to halfway, so that'd be 48 mil across. Then if you do the math on these ones here, that's 48 and then 88. So let's go with a 2-point center. And I found the center there. And it's found the center for me, so it's projecting them through, which is great. And we want a 48 tab 88. Enter. Now, it would be awesome if you could just use a fillet there, but because there's this line here that's at 60 degrees, you can't. So we'll start off by just putting in a circle at a diameter 24, and we'll place that in this corner, and then we'll use like a tangent. So I want a circle. I don't want it to click to any other geometry. I just want it to be able to freewheel around. So we'll go 24 mil there, and now I'll constrain it to the top, 12, and that one to be 12 as well. Boom. I can now grab a line, and I want to go from the tangent of this circle. So that's not going to come up unless you go right click, snap points, and tangent. So I'll left click now, so you can see that little tangent symbols come up. I'll left click now, I'll pull that out this way. Now it says it needs to be 60 degrees from that line across. Easiest way to do that is just to go like that and go dimension, and you'll see that the angle symbol comes up. A left click, I can drag that out, and now I can make that 60. And I'm going to want a 6 mil hole in the middle of that part, and it doesn't mirror, but this shape rotates around. So before I do that, I'm just going to go trim and tidy it up so that when I do a circular pattern, it's doing the geometry that I want. Cool, pretty happy there. So let's go with a circular pattern. Select the geometry you want to do. The center point is the center axis here, and I only want it to occur twice. So that's done there. I should be able to extrude that sweep. If not, I just like to clean up any unneeded lines. It will help your computer decide what's going to happen. But this should work out really good. And if I select extrude there, I'm happy there. It's already predicted that I want to go forwards or down, and that's pretty important. So take a look at this drawing. This is one of the drawings I've seen of it, but that line there comes to the outside face, and then same with this version. It's to that outside face, so the 6 mil in. Okay, so that's looking pretty good there. I'll click OK. I still have this issue where I need to break through this surface. I've got a fillet to do as well, and that's a radius 11. So I'll quickly do the fillet. Shift middle mouse wheel to orbit. Oops. There's your fillet, And so now to punch through there, I'm going to use that sketch that I had from the very, very start. And so that was from extrusion 1, and that's sketch 1. I'm going to right click on that and I'm going to turn on its visibility. I might need to use wireframe to select it. I'm not sure. We'll just have a go. Extrude, and no, it's coming up nicely for me so I can see that. That's that middle face. I'm going to select to subtract and through all. And you can see it's punching it the wrong way. So I'm just going to change my direction over here, and that will punch that shape out there for me. If you couldn't see that face for whatever reason, because I've had that issue before, I didn't then, but I'll show you how to overcome that. If you go View, Visual Style, Wireframe, I can see my sketch really nicely inside of that shape. So that will give you a wireframe of your model, and that's under View. I'll then go back to Shaded with Edges to get a better representation of what's happening. So that's how you would model up that cast iron transfer piece. I think that's what they're calling it. Now, worth noting, and I won't show you how to do it, you can do it yourself. There's fillets all over this thing, and it says here, all fillets, radius 3. And so, I don't believe there's supposed to be fillets inside of here because they haven't drawn it to show that at all. But there's definitely fillets there. I think so definitely fillet there, and there must be one on the back edge. We'll have a look at more of that in class, but the tricky part is is modeling up these ones here. So hopefully that helps you out, but you will need to put in those 3mm fillets at least on these surfaces.